Hey guys, so we're in the second part of our video series and we're doing E2, which is Living Lent. So you can follow along in your journey of faith. You can also look at the slides that I sent. It's just additional information regarding Ash Wednesday, how to fast, why we fast, what are the rules of fasting, like is there a specific age you have to be, and what are the health requirements, because we don't want anyone to fast or go without. That would put them in a condition that would send them to the hospital. So okay, so living Lent. How do we live Lent? Why do we have Lent? Why is it important? Well, Lent is a very deep subject, but I hope to just touch some things on the surface tonight where you have a better understanding of why we have Lent during the Catholic year. It's a liturgical season that comes and prepares us for Easter Sunday, which is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So, living Lent. What's the first step in preparation? Well, the first day of Lent is Ash Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Because of the weather, we won't have Mass tomorrow. You can watch it virtually with Bishop Malone, so make sure you check that out on our Facebook page, or the St. John Birchman's website will have it as well. But Ash Wednesday is important because it's the beginning of our penance. It's when we receive ashes. You can do it two different ways. It can be sprinkled on your head, which is how they do it over in Europe, or in America they do the cross on your forehead. And it's so significant because by doing that is you're recognizing that you are dust, and also that you are ready to reconcile or do a penance in order to have a better relationship with God. So Ash Wednesday is like the kickoff for those things. It's the kickoff for you to re-examine your heart, re-examine your conscience. And also by doing Ash Wednesday, which we'll do virtual this year because of the weather, but regardless, by receiving those ashes, it's preparing you. It's you making a statement saying that I'm ready to do my penance. I'm ready to make the sacrifice in order to experience the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about with Lent, but the first thing I want to talk about is the 40 days. Why is Lent 40 days? Well, if you go back to Scripture, you'll see in the Old Testament and the New Testament that the number 40 is very significant. So when Noah had to build the huge ark, God flooded the earth for 40 days. When Moses went to the mountain to meet with God, and as he was preparing the tablets for the 10 Commandments, he was talking with God for 40 days. When Jesus wandered in the desert, preparing himself for what he was going to experience through the crucifixion, he was there in the desert for 40 days, experiencing sacrifice and also being tempted by the devil. And so 40 is a significant number. It's biblical, and we use that during Lent because we think it's very important to have that number of days in order to prepare yourself for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so that being said, 40 is the number of days of Lent. Now, during Lent, we focus on three things that help us in preparation. The first thing is almsgiving. What is almsgiving? What does that mean and how much, right? So with almsgiving, you can tithe to your church, which means, if you remember back in the Gospels when the Pharisees asked Jesus, how much should we give Caesar? And Jesus said, give Caesar what is Caesar's and give God what is God's. And so that's what we should do when we tithe in the church, is we give God what is God's. Now, does it mean that you should give everything to where you can't pay your bills? No, absolutely not. That's not what God wants. But he does want you to give to the church. So let's say you give $10 a week at Mass, try 15. If that works and you can give more, the next week try 20. If you can't do 20, scale back to 15. And so that's a way that you can increase your almsgiving in small amounts without putting yourself in a place to where you can't possibly, buy groceries or anything like that. Another way for almsgiving is acts of charity, acts of service. So we have a number of charitable groups that always need help, like St. Vincent de Paul or Catholic Charities, to where you can give your time instead of money. You give your time, and that's another way of almsgiving. That's another way of sacrificing your time to give to God, just like you would be sacrificing your money to give to God. And so think about that as you're preparing for Lent, on ways that you can increase your almsgiving. I encourage you to do it on a small scale starting out, because sometimes when we try to do things on a big scale, we don't always succeed because it's just something that's completely out of habit and out of behavior. Start small and build on that. So the next thing we focus on is fasting. So there's a lot of information on fasting that's out there. It's on the slides that I sent you along with this link. But just know that you fast from food, such as meat on Fridays, on Ash Wednesday. We also can fast from certain behaviors. You can fast from social media. You can fast from maybe saying cuss words. You could fast from certain food or drinks, like let's say you go to Starbucks 2 or 3 times a day for coffee. That could be your fast. It could be something you're giving up for Lent. You can also fast, like I said, from certain behaviors like social media, or maybe you spend, so much time watching your favorite TV show. You could scale that time back and maybe use it for an act of charity, or you could use it to increase your prayer life, things like that. So again, start small. Maybe if you do 3 cups of coffee a day and you want to do 2, that's fine. If you want to give up chocolate for Lent, that's fine too. But just know that the things that you're doing them so that you can have a closer relationship with God. Again, Jesus is going to be resurrected on Easter Sunday. And so when he comes, you want to have your heart prepared, and you know that you want to do certain steps, do certain things that prepare your heart for that. So you don't want to give up something that doesn't necessarily, you don't want to give up something that would push you away from God, right? You don't want to give up going to Mass. That's actually a requirement. That's a precept of the church. So continue to do that one. But don't give up the good things that help your relationship. Give up the things that maybe draw you away. So we have almsgiving, we have fasting, and also increase your prayer life. I did talk about that a little bit. But increasing your prayer life could mean that you say a rosary every day, or you say a decade of the rosary. Again, it's about the relationship. It's about preparation. Lent is about penance, right? And so when we do a penance, we're actually praying. We're actually reconciling with God, asking for forgiveness. And so that's something you can increase in your daily prayer life. If you already do a lot, that is wonderful. Maybe add 5 minutes. Again, start small and build on that, because you don't want to go from doing nothing to making something such a goal that you can't ever reach it, right? You don't want to say, well, I'm going to do a rosary every day, even though you don't do a Hail Mary every day. So now we're expecting you to do 50 Hail Marys, right? So again, start small, but do those tiny doses, just increasing your prayer life to where you do grow closer to God. And then by Easter Sunday, you have this wonderful relationship. Here he is. And I'm ready for him to come, and I'm ready for him to mold my heart. So almsgiving, fasting, and prayer life. Those are 3 important things in Lent to focus on. Now, I know we've already talked about Ash Wednesday, but you'll notice when you do go to Mass during Lent that everything is purple, or what we call violet. And that color means penance, reconciliation. We use that color during Advent as well because, again, we're preparing for the birth of Christ at Christmas, whereas at Lent, we're preparing for the resurrection of Christ. And so the Catholic Church uses colors as symbols for certain things, right? So violet or purple is the symbol for penance, for reconciliation. And so you'll see that throughout Mass, throughout Lent. And again, just know that that is something to help you prepare. So when you think about that color when you're in Mass, just know that that's something to help you when to think about during Lent, to think about the penance, the prayer life, the almsgiving. So to sum this up, mainly what we need to focus on during Lent is sacrifice, right? Jesus sacrificed himself for us. And so what he's asking is for us to sacrifice for him. Now, is he asking you to hang on a cross? I don't know. But he is asking you to carry a cross. And so the burdens you have and the suffering that you may have, what he wants is for you to offer that up to him, because as he suffered through the agony in the garden and having the crown of thorns put on his head, think about the passion when I talk about these things. You had the crown with thorns, when he was whipped, when he was, carrying the cross and he fell 3 times. Think about that. Think about that through your suffering and the things that you're going through. And he wants you to offer that to him, because if anyone understands, it's Jesus. Remember, Jesus fell 3 times carrying the cross. Think about how many times you've fallen and have had to get back up. He's done the same thing. So focus on those things throughout Lent and add to your prayer life, add to your almsgiving. And when you think about fasting, fast from the things, of course, recognize, the no meat on Fridays, the limited meals like on Ash Wednesday, Good Friday. And you'll see that all in the slides. It'll explain it. But again, you can reach out if you have any questions. But just remember that all of these things are for a higher purpose. They're for steps to heaven. And so Lent is not only preparing for the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but it's also steps to heaven. Because if you can do these things for 40 days, you can do them long term for the rest of your life, right? So if it takes you 40 days to get through a decade of the rosary, do it. Focus on it and do one step at a time. And again, I just encourage you, start small, but build on it. Build on it as you go through this process. So I hope I've helped explain Lent a little bit. Again, look at the slides. There's some fun stuff on there at the end from Pope Francis, what he would like to see us fast from as Catholics. There's also explanation of almsgiving, sacrifice, what it means to be holy. And there's some fun facts about me that I thought y'all would enjoy. So look that over, reach out to your sponsor, reach out to a team member. Of course, you can call me anytime if you have any questions. And I hope to see y'all very soon. Please stay safe in this snow and ice, and y'all have a great night. Thank you so much.